He's known as the father of Australian ornithology. John Gould was cataloguing the continent's feathered inhabitants when it was still being charted by explorers. But as Siobhan Hinu reports, an astute business mind also lay behind his famous artworks. And a new book published by the National Library explains how the English naturalist and his artist wife made their fortune.
Gould was the son of a gardener. He didn't come from the aristocracy or the upper middle classes of Britain in his time. He was of humble origins, but he was always, in later life, he reflected on his early love of animals. Gardeners also had sidelines in things like taxidermy, and they used to stuff animals and things like that, and he very quickly became an adept at stuffing animals. And in fact, his father was working in a property near Eton College, and he used to sell the schoolboys of Eton stuffed animals and birds for their own little private collections.
John Gould was genuinely and deeply passionate about the natural world, but he also had a natural flair for business. The Business of Nature by Rosalind Russell charts his journey from gardener's son to famed stalwart of scientific discovery and documentation. After learning skills by his father's side, the young John Gould was springboarded into a career that would take him around the world.
And by very good fortune met a lady who was as keen on natural history as he was.
That woman was Elizabeth Coxon, later to become Gould's wife and colleague.
As a governess, she'd been taught the accomplishments that young ladies were, and she could draw. And John decided that he would branch out from stuffing animals into actually depicting them and using the new technique of lithography. And Elizabeth was his first artist, because he was not himself a particularly good artist. He was a very good observer. He was an extraordinary capacity for noting the characteristics of animals and birds. And he would do a rough sketch and then have it translated into the beautiful high-quality prints that were required for natural history illustration. She was clearly as committed to his vision of what they could do together. She did it when she was expecting babies, she did it after she lost babies, things like that.
And she did it at the furthest corners of the earth. Gould travelled to Australia at the insistence of Charles Darwin.
Darwin had used John's services with some of the taxonomic work on the birds he brought back from the Galapagos Islands, the finches, that was so crucial to Darwin's theory of evolution. Obviously said to him, look, there's a rich field of endeavour in Australia and you should go there.
Gould travelled far and wide to observe animals in their natural surroundings, taking notes not just on what they looked like, but how they behaved. No detail went unnoticed.
He would accompany explorers. He accompanied Sturt on some of his expeditions around the Murray area. He also went out into the back blocks of Tasmania.
Gould's work made him wealthy. His business nous was applied to every aspect of the project. He even sold off the stuffed birds he'd used as models after he was finished with them. What the couple left behind was a record that to this day remains a strikingly accurate account of Australian wildlife.
This could be the honeyeater that sits on my callistum in my backyard. It's so lifelike, it's so true. To emerge at the other end was something that someone here in the 21st century can say, that looks like the bird in my backyard.